that you trolled the entire world with the fight.
Yeah,
so was this all an act? What part of it was real? Tell us about it.
It wasn't so much like my ideas, like more of just wisdom coming from God, and then I just made adjustments as I went. Like I would have to give all the credit to God and the wisdom of God and the Holy Spirit, for sure.
So influencers, content creators, commentators, ex-fighters are all coping for the last couple of days in the aftermath of Ryan Garcia putting Devin Haney on his ass. It's actually quite extraordinary to watch them all cope so hard. So now everyone seems to be on the same page of, thank God he was only trolling. We don't have to talk about kids being trafficked anymore. We don't have to talk about Jesus Christ and Ryan Garcia's God. We don't have to talk about Bohemian Grove. We don't have to talk about how toxic the drink Prime is. It was all a troll, everybody. He was acting, he was pretending. This is marketing genius at a level that we've never seen before. No thanks, that's not the narrative that I want to go with, to be honest with you. I backed Ryan Garcia from the very beginning because of what he was exposing. If you go back and watch all my videos, I did say he was going to go in there and hockey Devin Haney, which he did, and it was awesome. But what I believed in terms of his mental state and his manic behavior, as many said, if you look through all these same content creators, all these same influencers, all these same ex-professionals that wanted him sectioned, that wanted him locked up, that wanted the commission to step in and call this whole thing off because he was clearly mentally unbalanced. So they think right now that they've been given some sort of release clause, some escape plan, just to say that, oh, it was all a troll, it was all an act, let's move on, this guy is a genius. I don't buy it one bit. I know that Ryan Garcia appeared last night on the PBD podcast and said that it was an act and that we premeditatedly ran through this whole plan, and that was enough ammunition then for everyone to be like, oh yes, thank God we don't have to talk about the important stuff. It was all an act. And there's a bunch of social media clips from this long podcast that pretty much reiterate exactly that. Ryan Garcia has held up his hands and said that he was trolling everybody. And as I said, there's a bunch of people that are taking these clips and wiping the sweat from their brow because now they have confirmation from the man himself that it was all a troll. If you watch the longer form of that podcast, everything that he said was a troll, that it was a marketing ploy. He pretty much goes back and reverses it all. He says that he was twitching his nose, that I was saying to my guys and to my team that we go into interviews and we go on stage and I twitch my nose. But he continues to do this same twitching numerous times during this podcast. And when asked about the Bohemian Grove situation and the trafficking situation and the insider information that he had, and that the likes of Logan Paul were disparaging him because he wouldn't put it out in public, I don't know what you expected him to do. But again, I think this was a ploy to deflect away from important subjects like Ryan Garcia was bringing up. But in this podcast, he doubles, if not triples down on pretty much everything that he said. So whilst we have headlines and YouTube videos going, he trolled us all, we were all wrong, that's not the case. Watch the podcast. He pretty much confirms that he was drinking all the way through this camp, that he was partying, that he was out all night, that he was not focused on the fight, or not focused enough for what the professionals believe to be adequate. So these guys are seriously reeling, and it's something that I talk about all the time in terms of putting your guys up on these crazy pedestals. Like, you hear content creators talking about MMA fighters like they are untouchable badass beasts that nobody could ever get near. And there's so many instances of guys that are just coming into the octagon and having these crazy upsets. The exact same thing happens with boxing. The exact same thing happens with football. We've got guys that can make $350,000 a week that are at the pinnacle of their career and they can get injured, and we can have guys that are 16 come straight out of the youth team and absolutely perform on the same level. The gatekeepers of boxing or MMA or combat sports in general really don't like that. They want everyone to believe that they all train to this elite level that a normal person just is incapable of. I've also heard people this week come out and say that Ryan Garcia is a terrible role model because of the way that he was partying after the fight. He was seen smoking some weed, he was seen drinking some liquor, and it's like, oh my God, do I really want my kid to look up to a guy like this? And what I would say to people that went after him in the aftermath of the fight and his partying antics is, cool, I don't disagree with you per se. Now do Israel Adesanya. Now do Sugar Sean O'Malley. Or are you terrified to talk about UFC fighters just because there might be a chance down the line that you get an interview or that you might get a retweet over on X? Is that why you can only go after people like Ryan Garcia and not UFC guys? So I do see a lot of hypocritical acts happening in the aftermath of the Ryan Garcia fight. These guys are the elite of the elite. They train harder than any human, than any regular normie, any casual on the street. Ryan Garcia didn't do any of that. and he still put the beat down on Devin Haney. How do you explain that? Is that another troll? I do believe that there's a trolling job happening, but I think that it's happening in the aftermath of this fight, not pre-fight. I think everything that we saw on the run-up to Ryan Garcia battering that young fella the other night was 100% legit. 100% legit. It was the way it was interpreted by the casual mind. That's what the difference was. Because you didn't like hearing about Bohemian Grove and trafficking of younger people. You didn't want to hear the disgusting shit that P. Diddy was doing to young musicians or even young fighters. You didn't want to talk about that stuff. You wanted to sit in your bubble and get the pat on the head from the likes of a Logan Paul or an Israel Adesanya, and you wanted to be just like, okay, everything is kosher. Let's demonize a kid here who's speaking the truth. Yes, he was doing it in a very unorthodox way, but to bring up these issues is going to be unorthodox anyway. Let's just have a little listen to some of what Ryan Garcia said last night.
Trolled the entire world with the fight.
Yeah,
so was this all an act? What part of it was real? Tell us about it.
I mean, my cameraman Chance, Ajay's there. Hey, we have it pre-recorded months ago. What did I say was gonna happen? I said, I'm about to make sure everybody thinks I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Wow, it's just gonna be called The Great Escape. Like, I have it all documented. I was already planning it, weeks and weeks and months behind.
Right now you can hear like this mass exhaling of YouTubers and influencers going, oh, thank God. Thank God that he said that. Now we're vindicated with our last couple of videos.
I want you to say I'm going to take a complete different approach with marketing this fight.
Well, it was just basically, it kept on unraveling itself. If I'm being quite honest, it was more of it wasn't so much like my ideas, like more of just wisdom coming from God, and then I just made adjustments as I went.
I just want to pause it there because that statement alone pretty much refutes everything that everybody's saying. So Patrick Bet David asks the question about the marketing ploy. How did you come up with such an elaborate plan that all the YouTubers and all the influencers and all the commentators are now jumping on the bandwagon of? And he pretty much says to him, well, I didn't really come up with any plan. It was a message from God.
A complete different approach with marketing this fight.
Well, it was just basically, it kept on unraveling itself. If I'm being quite honest, it was more of it wasn't so much like my ideas, like more of just wisdom coming from God, and then I just made adjustments as I went.
So we all heard that, right? So are we going to include that in our new trolling videos? It wasn't really my plan. It was a message from God that just unraveled itself, and I just adjusted with it. Okay, so that refutes everything, right?
I would have these strong, feelings or just urges, like nicks from the Holy Spirit to do this, do that, do this, do that, and then like God always cleaned up everything that I was doing, because I felt like on the one side there was like I had the enemy pushing me to do certain things, and then I had God, and then it was just like no matter what happened, God always made it right. So I would have to give all the credit to God and the wisdom of God and the Holy Spirit, for sure.
So that statement alone probably triggers so many people that don't like the thoughts of talking about God or attributing any sort of positive outcomes to God. They hate that, and it also debunks everything that they said in terms of him being this like unbelievable Ed Norton type actor. Cool.
Garcia discusses Bohemian Grove.
Oh, yeah.
Then Ryan Garcia slams Logan Paul's prime drink. Ryan Garcia accuses Victor Conte, Devin Haney of cheating. Then Ryan Garcia addresses prediction of Baltimore Bridge collapsing. Then Ryan Garcia tweets he will kill Devin Haney. Then Ryan Garcia, New York Boxing Commission evaluation, the whole mental thing that you said defamation, you're going to sue them. Then Ryan Garcia and Alicia Baumgardner beef. Then Garcia launches X-rated tirade at the New York Mets. Ryan Garcia cleared to fight by the New York Boxing Commission. Ryan Garcia touches base with influencer Andrew Tate. There's all these stories. And every day it's something new that you were putting out there. Okay. The part I want to know is which one of these are actual opinions that you have? How much of it was antics?
Well, ask me. Which one?
Okay, so go through it. So Bohemian Grove. You said you have a video that you saw.
Well, there's actually many stories on it, and there's actually a lot of people that have come forward to me, and there's actually really people in the front lines of all this. I'm in contact
Fantastic question there that outlines the entire timeline and the run-up to the Devin Haney fight and the behaviour from Ryan Garcia. If we're to believe everybody, this was a plan, this was all an act, this was all a marketing ploy. Yes, I do believe in every single thing that I said there, and I'm glad that I brought it up. I don't know what more evidence we need in terms of it wasn't an act, guys. The only act and the only trolling that we're actually seeing is the fact that whilst Patrick Bet-David is asking these questions, Ryan Garcia is looking off camera to someone who's advising him on what to say and what not to say. And I think that the marketing trolling plan is right here in this interview by saying that it was all an act. Because the questions and the topics that he brought up and now doubles and triples down on are really important ones that the elites don't want us to talk about.
A lot of these things, you know, I have experienced not only like spiritually in my spiritual senses. Before I even knew about the Bohemian Grove, he's a testament to it. I had a vision like in 2021. I seen like a beast coming out of San Francisco, and I seen the San Francisco Bridge, and then I seen like the woods, and I seen people doing really weird things. And I went up to my friend. I said, "Hey man, is there a place that people do weird things in the woods? I'm just curious." And he was like, "Well, what are you talking about, Bohemian Grove?" And I didn't know what it was, but that was 2021. So I've just been able to like, I'm very spiritually gifted, so I could see things before they happen because of God. And there's countless stories of that happening.
I could literally play the entire podcast here, and we'll have statements coming from Ryan Garcia that he receives messages from God. That's how the marketing ploy came into fruition. That I have premonitions on a daily basis, picturing people doing disgusting acts out in forests, and then in the aftermath I've been told that it's Bohemian Grove. He's pointing to people off screen saying that they can confirm that I do have kind of a precognitive skill of seeing things before they happen because it's a gift from God that's been given to him. All this stuff doesn't sound manic, doesn't sound crazy anymore because we were told not to think that. Just jump back maybe 4 days and listen to him talking about having precognitive dreams of Bohemian Grove and that he never heard of it before. And all these influencers who are now coping would be wanting him locked up once more. 100%.
How high are some of these people? Is it because these guys are higher up, powerful people that you don't expose them?
Well, I mean, everything's in people's faces. You don't got to look too far. You know what I mean? There's so many stories. I mean, this is not even a conspiracy at this point. You know, at the end of the day, all these things can be traced and documented. And for me to like show proof, it's just kind of funny because it's right in front of everybody's face. They painted in the illusion that it's a conspiracy, but it's not a conspiracy if there's proof.
It's not a conspiracy if we've got the proof. This is a very poignant note to end this podcast on. As I said, I could go on forever pulling up stuff that would refute all the people saying that it was a troll and it was an act. I think that Ryan Garcia is 100% legit in terms of what he wants to do. I think on the run up to the Devin Haney fight, the guy was just in the zone of being a truther, critically thinking. I think that there might have been some substances taken that might have accentuated the truther mentality. But as I said, I was on board with Ryan Garcia exposing everybody. And I was also on board, and I love the fact that he went in there and proved that you can break the paradigm of you got to do an 8-week camp, you got to starve yourself, you got to be 100% laser focused on fitness and cutting weight. He didn't do any of that. He admits to it in this podcast, and he still went in there and blasted Devin Haney all over the place. So I think there's a lot of people not loving what happened, and I think that they are actually being trolled right now by Ryan Garcia, but only in the aftermath of this fight, because the revelations that he was exposing on the run up to this and the really important topics that he is adamant to double and triple down on, that's what stands out for Ryan Garcia. The dude is going to be a huge star, and I hope that he doesn't back down and he keeps speaking out and he keeps going after these people. So let me know your thoughts down below if any of this made sense, and I'll leave you with Ryan Garcia giving his opinion on what KSI and Logan Paul really are.
So what's your problem with Logan and KSI? What's your issue with those guys?
Man, they don't stand for nothing, bro. They're puppets, and at the end of the day, I don't like people like that. These dudes are culture vultures. These dudes are whack. Well, it's not going to hurt your brand to speak for the kids, and then you want to bash the man that is speaking for the kids. These dudes are cowards. These dudes are demons in the flesh. Like, these dudes are just, they're going headed nowhere. That money ain't going to go nowhere but the grave, brother. And people that try to act all you know, straight and dandy. We know what you're doing behind the scenes. Get your grown man pants on, and how about you help talk about it? Because you joined every movement you thought was plausible for your platform. He used the whole black empowerment movement, what happened with George Floyd, for his benefit. I'm a white man, and I'm going to stand up and say, you know, I have my white privilege,
It's true.
and I'm sorry. And he got a lot of love for that, right?
Of course, because of the bandwagon.
That's called he's a
When he was reading the
bandwagoner.
script off the phone.
Yeah. Bro, shut up. He took a guy off his channel for talking about Jesus.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He's so in love with his wisdom that he thinks he has, that he just seems like a prick.